What if I told you that you don't have to choose between adventure and success? That you can build a career whilst exploring the world, breaking free from the traditional path? Today's guest is someone who's done exactly that. Gina has worked all across the globe, from the Caribbean to Latin America, from Australia to Europe. She started her journey with a desire to escape convention, fueled by a childhood realization that life was meant to be experienced and not just endured. From working as a tour guide on horseback in Aruba to becoming a corporate sales leader at LinkedIn, and now an entrepreneur running Driftawave, a company dedicated to making workcations and team retreats effortless, Gina is literally living proof that you can design your own path in life. And in this episode, we'll dive into her story, how she navigated career pivots, built a global network, and transitioned from corporate to entrepreneurship. And most importantly, how she defines success in her own terms. If you've ever dreamed of packing a bag and seeing where life takes you, or if you're just stuck in a routine and looking for inspiration to take that leap, this episode is for you. So sit back, grab a coffee, or maybe a boarding pass, and let's get into it. A big thank you to Avery for sponsoring this episode.
Ah! This is so cute.
Merch!
Oh my god. I can hang it on my luggage.
Yes! And then you can spot it easier. I don't know what color your luggage is.
Very excited to meet you in person. And thank you for the present.
So you've worked all over the world, right? And you've had so many different roles as well in your career. So what drove you to break away from conventional life?
I think it started very young, to be honest. I guess I complained when I was very little, and my dad said to me, if you don't agree with it, you can go and live in another country and start your own company. And I think I was around 7, maybe even 5 years old. And I figured, that sounds like a great idea, Dad. So it's always been on the horizon. When I finished high school, I wanted to go abroad. I was 17 years old, but I didn't know. I didn't really know how to do it. I wanted to go to Greece, but it was one step too far, and people weren't really doing it much around me. But I think today it's completely changed. You can see what people are doing around the world because of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other forms of media. So I actually think that's a great thing, yeah.
And what was the first country you went
Ooh,
to and discovered?
Aruba.
Wait, so you thought Greece was
Yeah,
too
so
far, so you went to
no.
Aruba instead?
Yeah. No, yeah. So I was studying, and basically, you could do your internship abroad. And also, I didn't really know how to approach. There were so many countries I would love to visit, right? So what I did, I wrote my resume and I sent it over to everybody that I knew within my network with international connections. And then one day, as I'm enjoying a holiday in Portugal with my friend, I got a call. Do you want to come to Aruba? I was like, Aruba? Absolutely. So, yeah, it all went very quick from there. I guess it was my first little side job. We ended up working as tour guides on a horse ranch as well. So then on Sundays we would take the horses swimming, which was incredible. You can join the carnival parades. We're all dressed in white. Everybody had a medallion with lights in it, a stick with lights in it, a hat with lights in it, and there's this big truck with a band on it playing. Woofers at the front, woofers at the back, a bar driving behind you. I have no idea how this truck was driving with the woofers in the front of it. But it's amazing, and you're dancing, everybody's out, and yeah, this is really where it hit my wow factor. I was like, oh my God, if life can be like this is insane. And I guess from there, I never stopped. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. So then, okay, you've got your first job there with the horses, etc. Like it all sounds like, yeah, I can't even imagine. You were 17.
No, sorry. So, this is during my studies for my internship.
Ah,
So
okay.
I was about 2021 then when I
Okay.
was there. And basically, the reason that I was there was to do my internship for a company called Senior Frogs. It's a bit of an outspoken concept as well. They have
Mm.
like these big drinking yards, and the employees are doing all these dances, and they have like these funny jokes on T-shirts, mostly focused towards Americans. So already, yeah, a little bit outside of the standard as well. A lot
Okay.
about experience, and yeah, so that's how I got there.
Wow. And then what happened next? Because it sounds really dreamy. You're in a hot country in the Caribbean. You've got this job with horses. You are partying. It's like a daydream, essentially. What? Because of course now you're in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
and now you are a founder of Driftawave, which we'll talk about later on. So talk us through the mindset. Like, what was going on? Why didn't you stay in the Caribbean?
I actually did. I rebooked my flight, but yeah, I should have come back in time or stay longer. But yeah, I went back home, and then ended up going on a minor to Sweden.
What's a minor?
A minor is a semester where you
Uh,
go study like maybe another course than you usually do, or more so like a deep dive.
okay.
Um,
I thought you meant like mining, like a new
no,
job,
no,
like
no, no,
you're
no,
mining in Sweden.
no, yeah, no. No, 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 but it was great. We were studying international business, international marketing, intercultural communication. We had a guest lecture of an incredible woman who I'm still in touch with today, Suyin Arts. And basically, they have a company focused on marketing visuals with inflatables. So they make really incredible things like creative concepts for brands like Coca-Cola, event stages for companies like Tomorrowland. So again, like this creative vibe. And yeah, so actually I would have loved to work there. They offered me a job. They were,
How did they? So she gave a guest lecture.
yeah.
So did you go up to her after the lecture or connect with her some way?
So when she was giving the lecture, I asked her a question while she was doing it. And I think that's always a really great way to get in touch with someone, because it shows that you're genuinely interested. They will surely remind you. They're obviously trying to bring something to you as well. And so, yeah, then I applied for a job. They got me on board for the internship. I moved to Belgium actually. And yeah, then I did actually really enjoy that. And then I remember one day my employer took me for lunch and he asked me, "Have you started applying for jobs already?" And I was like, "No." So he was a bit in shock. Um, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, we'd love to offer you a role." I was like, "Oh, that's incredible." Um, and but he was still surprised, right? And he said like, "Well, what are you gonna do then? Travel to Latin America?" Because I had been waiting for several years after having worked in Aruba together with all these incredible people from Mexico, from Venezuela, from Colombia, Argentina. So yeah, I was dying to go back, and yeah, so they gave me 6 months. I said I'm going for a year,
Hmm.
and I went. I loved it. They still have always throughout time still offered me a role, even changed the role uh, based on what I might be looking for. Just because I was busy traveling, it never got to that point. So yeah, it's quite funny to finally be back now. I actually met up with her recently.
Oh,
She
wow. How many years has it been since you worked there versus now?
was like 11 years.
Whoa. And
Yeah.
you still kept in touch and
Yeah, we're still in touch. They're incredible people. You would love to meet her. She is also a moderator, journalist, online presenter. So basically, she was hosting one of the no, actually the main stage at Slushed in Ghent in Belgium.
Yeah, big events.
Big event. And also she would she was interviewing tech founders, talking about the future of work. So it's funny how the worlds kind of got together again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then you went to LATAM.
Latin America.
The story's still going. The story is still going.
Latin America, yeah. So I was telling people I was going to go to Latin America. And this is before Instagram was super widely used and everything was viral. And I was telling people, and even one day, this guy that I know, he said, wow, I'm a guy and I would be afraid, but you're a girl and you're going by yourself. And so many people were worried around me that I started thinking that I had to worry myself. So the week before was a bit nerve-wracking, and I guess the rest is history. Absolutely loved it. I think there's barely been any moment where I've been alone. I went to Rio.
Wow.
Traveled around. Actually, the girl that I met there on the first day, I met her back at the waterfalls Iguazu again to travel down to Buenos Aires together. It's just incredible.
I'm just thinking as you're saying, like these incredible places. I'm just trying to imagine because I've never visited LATAM. How did you sustain yourself? Was it just previous savings or were your family helping you out?
So I always have worked a lot, and I've been lucky enough that I did have some savings also that my family contributed to throughout my whole life. And I once asked my mom what that money was for. And one of them was to travel. One of them obviously was to buy a house. And the other one, I can't remember. I was lucky enough to use that money. Otherwise, I would definitely have to work at least a year before heading off, I would say. But I went. I in some ways, some days I would live like a local, like eat off the market really cheap. But other days I would go take dive courses. But then when I came back, I promised myself I was gonna earn back the money. So I did that, and then accumulated with hard work after I'm able to start my own company today. So work hard.
Yes, work hard and also relationship building, right? Because you met people from like, geez, you worked with them 11 years ago. You met them during traveling and you still keep in touch with them today. And it's just come back twofold, hasn't it?
Yeah, I call it the traveler's paradox because you get to meet all these incredible people. But then will you see them again? Yes or no? And when you do, it's like one of those magic moments. It's like, yeah, I love it.
As a person who hasn't left Europe, I think I've been to Turkey. I don't know. We can debate if that's Europe or if that's EMEA. I just can't even wrap my head around going to so many. And you lived there. You've lived in so many places in your life. Do you think all of these experiences have like shaped what your idea of success is?
100%. Yeah. So I think I'm just loaded with gratitude generally. I often don't tell people the whole story anymore of where I've gone because it just consumes so much time, and people look at me like, how old are you? But so much gratitude and like many experiences of which I never even thought that they could be real, like becoming a cowgirl on a horse in a wild, wild west in Australia between the kangaroos, doing masters with the heli, the dirt bikes. I mean, that stuff that just happens in movies, right? Or when I was working as a travel consultant in Australia and New Zealand, we had to test out all the trips. So obviously we could explain what it was like, and you could really tell. Like, for example, we used to sell Fraser Island, biggest sand island in the world, 4-wheel driving. Before I would show a video of an influencer, 5 minutes. And then when I was there, I made a video 30 seconds and it just went boom. Because people feel that. And obviously, I guess the passion, you shine with it. Yeah, just so many incredible experiences that I count myself lucky that I was able to have so many, to be honest, and I still hopefully have a long time to go. And I think that's also why I take such great pride in what I do to encourage people to take that step or visit a new place or be that person helping out to arrange it. So yeah.
Yeah, you found your role within corporate now, right? Like that you are that facilitator. You open up, you make people curious about discovering themselves and traveling and exploring new things and trying new things out.
Yeah, and I think it's a very I think it's a big topic. For example, when I actually this week my auntie said it, or my friend who now does work at the KLM, because they see what's possible today.
Hmm.
They say like, "Oh, I kind of wish that we would have maybe traveled more as well, or if it was something in that time." And I do think when I started traveling, uh, it was not that very much common yet, even though there were already like many expats. I mean, like the East Indian Company, we've been all over the world since decades, but it's not the standard thing to do. Um, we even discovered that my grandmother apparently wanted to become a stewardess. I never knew this. It's just my before she left us, my cousin interviewed her, and we found out that she wanted to be a stewardess, but her parents thought it's not a suitable role. So I think over time the opinions have changed. Travel's way more accessible, also for the working class, I guess.
Now we can actually get a sneak preview with Instagram, with TikTok, people actually living there. And you touched on something really important, which was your grandmother who wished that she would have been a stewardess, right? And there's so many people that feel stuck in that way. They feel like this is all I know. Like I need to get a job and then save money
Hmm.
and not overspend and indulge. And then maybe I can buy a house and maybe I can, go on holiday once a month. And it's just this, yeah, it's this kind of bordered way of looking at life, isn't it? Like I need to have kids, I need to buy a house and stuff like that. Why, in your own personal opinion, like with your experience, why do you think people are stuck in this 9 to 5, must have kids, must buy a house kind of mindset?
I think it's life choices a lot as well. Like some people want to be a mom very young. Some people, which sometimes I admire as well. Like when I come back from a trip and I visit my friends in their own house and I go like, oh gosh, it must be so nice to wake up every morning and have your shampoo just standing there and not having to pack it all up. So I think you I guess you pay a price for everything. Um and obviously you also get a lot in return. So I think it really depends what you prioritize. Also, it's not necessarily like I'm obviously traveling a lot. You moved to Amsterdam already many years ago. Some people also decide to go away for 6 months, 1 year, and then return back to their new life. And that's why workations are so great.
Yes.
Yeah, because it gives you that ability to go away for a bit, and then I guess return to your normal life. Because, yeah, I always felt that when I found my jobs on the road, and I felt like I didn't have the opportunity to pursue a personal career in that way while also going on these adventures. Like obviously you could go as an expat, but you'd still be tied into what you're doing there. And I think that's completely changed over recent years. I personally think it's amazing.
It's really admirable, like just from a person who's quite stable and goes on holiday or workations, that you didn't see any challenges. I'm sure you did and you're not speaking about it, but like when you went to Australia, like getting a visa there is like pretty hard. And then you went to LATAM for a whole year and you didn't even let the whole scary stories like bring you down. You just went with such a curious, open mind. So, like, as an external person, I just really, yeah, it's really admirable. And if you can teach us anything, if you have like some advice for people who are quite wary and cautious, like over planners, because did you over plan your trips, or were you just really spontaneous and you were like, let's go?
No, so for example, when I was going to Latin America and I got nervous, I was really thinking like, why did I buy this ticket? And then I had two friends who traveled there. So they told me all the incredible places where you go. Obviously, when you stay in hostels, you're much more likely to meet other people than when you would stay in a hotel alone by yourself.
Hmm.
Think about what you bring with you. Um, just, I guess it can happen in Amsterdam as well. Like, Amsterdam is full of pickpocketers, but be aware when you go and travel, obviously, people can often see that you are a tourist.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, like I would always be conscious of my surroundings in Latin America. There's honestly, hands up, they're some of the most amazing people I've ever seen. They're so heartwarming. They invite you to the house, even to stay with them. They give you food, even presents when they don't even have that much themselves. Their nature, their culture, when they think about music and dance, like their eyes start shining. I think my manager, actually from Aruba, she's Mexican, she said it best. Because I asked her one day, like, what is it like in Mexico? Is it really that dangerous? And she said to me, Gina, there are places where you shouldn't be at certain times with certain types of people. And I think that's basically spot on, right? When you travel around Latin America as a girl, most often you'll be walking around, especially in the evening, what can be with another girl as well. But at the time, there weren't that many girls traveling in Latin America. So often I was pairing up with a guy who was also staying at the hostel. Um, but yeah, there were some situations where I've gone like, oh, so I would recommend people to always be aware of their surroundings. And I don't want to scare people because I I would do it over and over and over again, and I would recommend anyone with any desire to visit Latin America because it's one of those places with experiences that you will not get anywhere else. But I did realize the difference when I came back to the Netherlands, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to look around my shoulder all the time. But I do think I built a habit for it. I was still even like I don't know, still in Holland we also have some Dutch people around, right? Like trying to take things that are not theirs, or I don't know, maybe they've gone a bit off the grid.
Yeah.
So just always try to be conscious.
Yeah, it's important. Even in your own city, right? Like when I was living in the UK, crime was going up. Amsterdam has changed over the last 6, 7 years as well. So I'm a bit more cautious going out here. Um, I also wanted to dive into, because you traveled, you lived such an open, heartwarming kind of connecting experience, right? You saw so many different people, cultures, you met so many people as well. And then you went to LinkedIn. You went to corporate and you got a job in sales, right? Account management.
Mhm.
How was that for you? Because I can imagine like there's such a contrast with your like previous life versus working in corporate. How was that for you?
uh Outlier. um yeah, actually I was really happy with the opportunity because if we go back to New Zealand, I was obviously living the dream life. I was supposed to go to Canada on a working holiday after I already wanted to start my own travel company. And then the pandemic happened. So came back home and then got a referral into LinkedIn. And I really thought it through as well. There was super welcoming. I was really impressed. And I thought it was a great opportunity considering in the moment the world was still locked down in some areas or not really as open as I would love to see it. So I did it and never looked back, I guess. But I do remember in the beginning, we weren't really allowed to go to the office or just limited amount of people. And some colleagues thought it was a bit funny that I didn't want to go. And I remember I was just happy that by the end of the day, my feet were not in pain. I was already happy that I kind of call it my COVID shelter because it's all fun and everything, but I literally spent this time also like kind of hopping around the road to kind of like save my guts in that way and like be employed and make the most out of it. So I do count myself so lucky that I was able to then work on the super yards and then work in a tech sales role at LinkedIn, which again is like,
How does that even happen?
yeah, like amazing. So really, really great opportunity. And then obviously all the incredible people that I've met there, which you know several as well. Many live in Amsterdam. Many of them also now moved maybe back home or to other places. There's many of them in Spain now.
We have big news. Avery is now an official sponsor of the podcast. You know, I don't just partner with anyone. We've been quite picky because if we're working with someone, it means they genuinely align with what we believe in too. And that's why I'm really, really, really excited to introduce you to our long-term podcast sponsor, Avery. Let me be clear first. Avery is not another clunky ATS. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's the AI-powered upgrade that hiring teams have been waiting for forever. I've been in recruitment for a decade, and honestly speaking, the process has barely evolved. CVs go into black holes and automatic rejections occur. Disjointed hiring systems. There's a tool for CVs, another one for interviews, another one for sourcing. I mean, come on. Avery fixes all of that. Instead of juggling multiple tools, Avery integrates with existing ATSs and brings your hiring workflow into one place. Avery uses AI to generate role descriptions in real time, complete with salary benchmarks and live candidate availability data. Avery finds the best fit candidates across all the platforms, yes, including LinkedIn, Indeed, and even your own database of past applicants. And lastly, resurrecting lost candidates. Remember that great candidate from 6 months ago who got lost in the system? Avery doesn't forget. It puts the right people back in front of you effortlessly. And this isn't just a huge win for recruiters. Candidates win too. Want to get a taste for this yourself? Get 5% off using the link below. And a huge thank you to Avery for helping us take realistic happiness to the next level, including our new studio space here, sneak peek. This couldn't have happened without their help. I'm just curious, maybe a two-part question. One, who got you into LinkedIn? Because I'm just, I'm thinking about it as well. I love LinkedIn more as like a user. Yeah, I've never been approached to work there, even though I'm an avid user of the platform. And I can just imagine someone who's listening who's been looking for a job and applied for LinkedIn, for example, that they're kind of like, how? How did you get referred? So was it someone that you knew before that recommended you for the role?
Yeah, so it's basically like a whole kind of like a referral train almost.
Okay.
My friend Remco Wacker, that I knew from Austria, he got referred to it previously. And yeah, so he basically, I guess, sold me inside because I already had sales experience working in the travel agency, right? And so he sold me inside. Then he got me trained by Jennifer Payne, who you also know, yeah, and nailed the interview. I was actually also fortunate enough to have informal calls with managers as well before even deciding, which I know is such a luxury. But with that, I have to say, like, it is quite hard as well to get Dutch people to move to Dublin because obviously the economy is quite all right here. The weather is not too much different. So you'd wonder what the incentive would be to go there. And usually it's the people that are already travel lovers who are like open to other cultures or people who definitely want to boost their career because yeah, there's major opportunity there. Even if you even if you go there for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, it will make a big change on your career if it plays out well for you, obviously. I mean, you can do things here as well, but when you've worked there, you come back with different standards as well. Your eyes open up of, again, like what is possible in the world, especially um speaking with all these different companies, right? We were speaking with recruiters a lot, HR managers, employer branding specialists, founders, CTOs, L&D profs. We kind of have a sneak peek throughout the whole org and understand what their role entails or what sort of objectives and challenges they have, and then help them. Obviously, we had lots of data. So yeah, forever grateful. Um, I would I would highly recommend trying it. And if you can find someone who can refer you, I would definitely say it helps. For example, Marcus, my friend who came to Ireland, first he wasn't sure whether he wanted to go in tech, even though he had the option. Um, and he wanted to stay in tourism. But then later down the line, he changed his mind. He was ready because we had never pushed or enforced anything on him, right? It needs to come from himself.
Important lesson. Needs to come from you.
And basically then we got him a referral. I personally think that he could become an AE. Now he was applying for SD, if I may say that. It's
Sales
just,
development and account manager, AESD.
yeah, so
Just needed.
SD, sales development, AE is account executive. So, okay, so I'll explain it from the start. So I was offered an AE role, and also an AD role, which is an account director. So you manage existing business, or you're the one point of contact for the clients that are there. And basically I was lucky to go into that level directly, also obviously backed up with the sales experience I had. And I did have a bachelor, but in sales, I guess my friend doesn't have it. So who even got me a referral. But basically, sorry, long story short, he then applied. He was definitely qualified for the role, ticked all the boxes, but the role wasn't open yet. And because it was a referral, I was able to touch base with talent acquisition, asking updates like, hey, how are things going with this role? Is it already opening up? And I suggested like, hey, he actually does have a lot of sales experience. So I do think all of that helps. It's just because I guess recruiters are busy, so they don't always have. I mean, it's great if talent is proactive, but if every person is constantly like reaching out to you to check on updates, I think it's not going to make your job very great. Whereas if your colleague is asking you, hey, what about this role? How are you getting on with that? What do you think of this candidate? Like, I think this person would make a great cultural fit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would know it's different.
Yeah, I think there's like quite a lot of lessons. So I'll go to my because I said I had two questions. That was part one. But before I go into my second question, I think there's some really key lessons that you've kind of proven, right, in life. And it wasn't just like you opening up to the world and being grateful and receiving and traveling, which is amazing. I think it's pivoting. You managed to successfully in every country, in every role you did, because they were so different, from being a cowgirl to yachts to LinkedIn, you found ways to kind of make them similar. So you took away the key important bits like relationship building, communication, upselling, being present, being energetic, listening, right? And you took all of those, right? And it just shows you that you can really pivot in life. You do not have to conform to just being an admin assistant or a finance accountant for 20 years. You can really mold your career and your life to whatever you want. And a second lesson, just as like a bystander, and I think the audience feels the same, is how much relationships play a key role in your life, and you can't do things alone. Everything you did, the LATAM journey, Cowgirl experience, Australia, the referral in LinkedIn, like just by you being present and keeping in touch with people, which sounds simpler than it is. It's quite a lot of work, right? Especially in this kind of day and age. Um, it changed your life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just keeping in touch and having those relationships. You got opportunities across the world. And now as an entrepreneur, as a founder, that's helped you immensely as well, like get through doors you probably didn't think you had access to. But
Yeah.
it's two
Yeah.
really big lessons, right? You can pivot. You don't have to stay in a job or whatever. Like your life can be changed whenever, and how important other people are in your journey and your story.
Yeah. Also, in many ways, other people can inspire you because they have had a different life, or they maybe do a different job, or have a different take on things, have visited different places. Because yeah, you can't be the judge of something you don't know, right? It's great you mentioned as well, because I think the one golden keyword I threw in at the job interview with LinkedIn was transferable skills. And I think that's basically what you say as well. Obviously, you learn different things in different roles, but they also add up, and you can reuse them at other jobs. And then obviously, having done all these different things now puts me in a complete different position, very uniquely positioned compared to, yeah, many other people in the industry. Um, I've done the operational side of things. Like, I think when it comes down to events, I'd wonder if there's anything higher standard than a super yacht. Maybe, well, no, well, I guess, no, yeah, so.
Maybe when SpaceX launches
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
an event to the moon.
yeah, but at the same time, like, when I was working on the beach, like I've always done things with a full heart. So when I was working on the beach, I loved receiving all these incredible people, cracking jokes with them, and when they were there, I wanted them to feel welcome and have the best time. But also at some point, I kind of outgrown that job. I could do it, and so it was time for the next step. So sometimes when I hear people um, when I hear people say that they're really not happy with their job or their life, like I really hope they change something, because it's easy to say something, but it's maybe even harder to change something. And actually, someone also taught me this lesson when I was younger. When somebody's complaining, they need to change something. So even like if I'm reflecting on myself in like my actions or my behavior, and I feel like I start complaining, I try to think about what should change or what could change, and what actions I can then take, and obviously also what comes on your path. So
And that's awareness is the first step, right? Like I also say this as well, like complaining is a form of wishing. Even though you feel stuck, you feel like, oh, like, oh, why is she so pretty? Or, oh, why is he so rich? Like, oh, she's just lucky, You are, yeah, you're neglecting yourself. You're secretly like, you need to listen to that. So I love that and I admire that you are so self-aware that if you kind of end up in that loop again, you're kind of like, what do I want? It's really an important kind of mindset shift, because I think that's probably what's helped you all these years. Just kind of, yeah, when you outgrew the role or the country, you're kind of like, like, oh, it's the same old. What am I going to do? And then that's when you kind of found adventure again. But
mm-hmm.
talking about and adventure and entrepreneurship and diving into something new again, Driftawave, your company. I feel like it blends all of these things. It'd be good to, yeah, to understand how you came up with Driftawave, because I think it's like a unique idea and it solves problems that we didn't think we had. And how you're finding the journey. It's a two-part question again. So how Driftawave came about, and entrepreneurship, of course, it's terrifying, scary, but you've just jumped right in. I'm curious about your experience with entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so to be honest, it does feel like another adventure on track. I do think with the whole, so to say, life journey I've been through, I did I did get a lot of resilience, I guess, and also discipline. Like sometimes you have to punch through something in order to get where you are, or especially also moving abroad. It can be that you land in, like, so to say, a warm nest, but sometimes you also really need to make an effort to make it happen, or finding a new job. So I do think that really helped me. Like, obviously, I made a choice to start a company. It's like a big, I guess, dot on the horizon since day and age for me. I was just waiting for the right moment for the thing that would fit me. Um, and so, yeah, obviously, I was already in the world of travel, loved traveling, then ended up working in a corporate career. But all of a sudden, all these people who thought that they need to spend all their time in an office and basically go on a holiday a few weeks per year, which is even more challenging, I guess. This is like another trade-off. When you're an expat, you go abroad, but very often as well, you spend your holiday also visiting family and friends. So,
Guilty.
so what's left of it, right? Yeah, so we were actually very lucky. We were able to spend a fair bit amount of time abroad, 6 months in total, which is great. Like, I would spend time with my family and friends in the Netherlands. I got a call from my friend if I wanted to come and stay with her for a month during the ski season, which was amazing. Um, Spending it in San Sebastian, by the beach, go surfing after work or on the weekend, eat all the amazing tapas that there are. And I think also it kept my spirit alive, so to say. Um, I couldn't find myself in the office full time anymore, like just like being so free. Yeah, I think it's just incredible that this is now an option for these people who it was never accessible to. It was always like either a trade off, right? Or you're going to have a career,
Hmm.
or you're going to go and travel, or maybe you do a bit of both at a given time. And now you can do both, which is great. But then I guess also new world, new challenges. So before I dive into the challenges that I see now, basically it started with the whole workation thing. Like, oh, this is great. We can all travel abroad. Um, but it's quite hard to organize this all together with friends. And also already I found out that, for example, communities also would like to meet in person, but then who's going to organize it? And where is the money going to go, right? Because travel can add up. Are you just going to send that to someone on the internet? Like, that's what you have legal registrations for and everything, right? Um, so yeah, things just naturally clicked. But it was very scary. I first started asking in my closer network, like my housemate or my good friend. Then I got a business coach who helped me overcome my imposter. And then slowly, step by step, you start moving until a point you're like that far that you're not going back anymore. Like, and I really see now why entrepreneurs take on such big debts for their companies, because they have this vision, this idea of where it's gonna go and what's happening. Yeah, it's such an incredible adventure as well. Like, I guess we're here today as well. The amount of incredible people that I got to meet because of it. Also, actually, the other day I was thinking, like, all the different skills that I've been building. Like, all of a sudden I'm speaking on the stage. um I'm increasingly learning marketing skills, how to set up the whole company foundation, but you're also dealing with not my favorite stuff like contracts, legislation, finance, but also people. Also, people are really, I guess there's no one that can really prepare you for entrepreneurship, even though I went to study about entrepreneurship and marketing. Yeah, even how much of kind of like a politician you become, if I can say so, because you want to be respectful of everybody, but everybody comes from a different perspective. So it's really important to understand where somebody else is coming from, where they want to go, if you can then align that. And I think that's obviously in sales and in life, I guess you already, hospitality, you can learn little of these things. But I guess this is just another whole different level of it. But also, I love I love the world of entrepreneurs, because they're also these believers, these goal punchers. Maybe when everybody thinks they're crazy or yeah, trying to achieve the impossible, they are still in their positive spirits, which I think is really really important. And it's incredible. They're all trying to help each other. Um, some even partnering up. Uh, when I told some of them, like, "Whoa, not easy starting a company." Well, I guess starting is, but making it into success, and they just laugh at me and they say, "Yeah, this is the hardest part." And I think that's with many things, right? If you start, it's hard, and then slowly, before you know it, you turn into an expert or someone who's knowledgeable or really good at something.
And it helps that you enjoy it because it blends in adventure, travel, helping people,
100
connecting people.
100% because um yeah, if I wouldn't have loved what I do, I think I don't know if I would have still continued, because some things take a lot of dedication, persistency. Yeah, you make trade-offs. So maybe you don't go on that holiday, or maybe you work in the evening or in the weekend when it's a side hustle, or um yeah, maybe you see your friends and family a little bit less in that time. I'm sure you know what it is like, but yeah, you also get different things back for it, which are very rewarding. Yeah, you learn things that otherwise you wouldn't have learned. So yeah, it I really love it. I wouldn't have done it any other way. And I would just keep on going.
And I love that. So for those that don't know Driftawave, um, it started off as a workcation company and then it
Mhm.
developed from there, right?
Yeah, because basically what happened is that obviously a lot of companies started enforcing the RTO,
What's
so
RTO for those that don't know?
return to the office.
Yeah.
So even people who wanted to come on these group organized vacations and had the money for it, um, they were nervous, like, oh, what happens if I'm being called back to the office? I cannot go on the trip. Or what if I'm going to change my role and my new company is not allowing me to work from abroad? Or also, the economy got a little bit more challenging throughout that time, so people weren't entirely sure, or some were struggling with target attainments. That's where I kind of looked at what was going on. It was even also hard to get all the people together at the same time, like basically where it originally started. And obviously, you can do it when I guess, when you're a slightly bigger company or you start in a smaller way. Um, but basically, I started looking at, like, okay, where can I actually drive more value and what other challenges do I see? And then, for example, obviously, remote companies, they still do want to meet in person. Where are they then going to meet and be understood, like what their focus is or what is important and relevant to them? but even also hybrid that are thinking about even taking their employees away. I do remember when I was working at LinkedIn as well, some just wanted to go and do their own thing, but some actually really wanted to go with other colleagues and experience that thing all together. And I think it's just a great way to get to know people in a complete different way. So at the moment, I'm obviously building up new relations to help people and companies organize customized either workations or offsites for their team or for their company. Um, and also building long lasting partnerships with communities, which I really love because you have the opportunity to really dive into a specific niche where that person is active in.
Mhm.
Then you can drive more value and bring the collective together. I mean, it can be people that spend time together already, but given in the remote era we live in, I love how Ilka Akansel says it, who has been building remote communities for so many years already. He says, when you're younger, you're being born into your community. And for example, you will go to your school, you will go to your sports club, you will go to your church. But online, you can now, today, meet with anyone in any place over any given passion, belief, challenge. So you have that instant connection. You have that instant connection of belief, which makes it so special, I guess. And then obviously, when you take that to an in real life meeting like us today, it's like where the fire sparks happen as well, right? Because it's a like extra layer of foundation. You already agreed that you have similar interests or beliefs in a certain area, or maybe someone's got something to tell and you're curious to hear. And then obviously, yeah, that just builds a whole different, deeper layer. So yeah, I think that's really, really special. And at the meantime, obviously, whilst doing that, I really love that I can be creative again. Nothing is too crazy. Ooh, we can put this together, that together. What about this idea? Like trying to figure things out, work together with the right people, amazing people, by the way. And then also obviously on the back end, like trying to find the right locations that really bring the wow. I'm looking forward to announce several in the near future. But obviously, we can also work with what a client is looking for, and dive through a network on a global scale. Um, the bigger, the better, the crazier um, would be fun. But also, it doesn't have to be over the top always, right? I mean, if you go to a beautiful place abroad and you can share time together,
Mm.
depending on how you design it, obviously, right? But even going for a hike in a new area, like breathe the atmosphere, the culture, the people, the food. So yeah, many, many opportunities.
It's really incredible. And just to kind of paint a picture, perhaps, it's a huge advantage, because if you do it via your work, for example, if you want to do team building and stuff, or go on a workcation, you're not like, as an individual, like forking it out yourself. Because I've seen a few like really cool experiences, and like yoga this in Bali, and I've seen like Tuscan retreats in the vineyards and stuff, like a girls get together, and I'm like, that looks really sick. Like, especially on Instagram, you get fed all these adverts. And then as an individual, I go to like, oh yeah, I would love to go. Oh yeah, I can make that time like in August or whenever. And then it's like a couple of grand. And I'm like, damn, I know what I'm getting. I know it's going to be an amazing experience and it's for life. And I'll probably stay friends with these people. But I'm like, I ain't got that money. Like that's in savings. That's being invested in other things. So if a company kind of, yeah, takes that, not burden, but like does something good for their employees, and arranges this, that's also an advantage for the employees themselves and individuals. But also something you touched on as well, like you can be remote teams, you can find connection online, but you'll always crave that, like, you always want to meet that person face to face. I had that with you. Like we had so many video calls, and I was like, let's just grab a drink, let's just have a coffee, let's just do this podcast, right? It's in our nature, it's in our primitive cognitive brain that we just want that togetherness, like in a campfire or skiing or in Bali or in the beach, it's just in us. So I think what you're doing is not only, it makes sense, it's really adventurous, it's really cool, it's really innovative, but also, yeah, it brings people together in different ways. So you don't just do like those Thailand retreats or like, boat trips and stuff like that. You do really meaningful things. Like you really take into account like where the company's based, like what their values are, what they need, right?
Yeah.
You're not just booking like, oh, you're going to the beach, right? It's very like
No.
tailor
Yeah.
made,
Yeah.
custom.
Yeah. Yeah. It really depends what they're looking for. Some companies maybe looking more at strategic alignment. Other companies are more so looking at company culture. If the people never see each other, how can they build that extra layer of trust? Even some remote companies decided to spend a lot less on like strategy and meetings and a lot more time for the people to be people and share a moment together, even if it's looking at the moon, so to
Yeah.
say. And also, obviously, with the fast changing landscape due to AI, together with partners as well, looking to find ways how we can drive value, but also in a positive way, because AI is upskilling, things can escalate very quick, decentralized decision making. We're already doing more with less. And then yeah, there are many people, many are not always engaged. I think the number one reason why people leave their job is because they not feel appreciated. Maybe also like belonging. Perhaps people feel like they cannot speak up, or like they're in the same surrounding, winter depression, and it's just pressing on them. And just by taking them out somewhere, it's also a way of saying thank you. It's a different way of connecting. I genuinely believe it also creates a different relationship with your colleague. Especially also, let's say burnout, right? Is a very important topic. It's becoming increasingly more important. But also HR. HR is also in business for the company, right? But maybe there are already signs, and people could make a change before that, which would maybe help them feel a little bit better already. And then if, let's say, you have a great relationship with your colleagues, you kind of become friends, you have that extra layer of trust, maybe even just to express it and be able to say something. And then I imagine your colleague, your friend is obviously going to try and help you and maybe show you a perspective that you haven't thought of before. Just like there's many different possibilities and opportunities. I do know personally, I ended up staying in a prior role for a year longer because they took us all to Austria, which was absolutely amazing. I remember working at LinkedIn, people were always talking about going on workcation, all the excitement, even doing things together as well. And obviously, the sales kickoff, people would be starting to talk about it 6 months prior. People would wait with quitting their job, and then obviously by the new fiscal, they had their new book, they were making their whole strategies, they're happy with their clients, or whichever changed in their mindset, and they're still working there. So yeah, these things can help a lot, for many different reasons.
No, it does, and it will continue helping people get together because Yeah, exactly like you said, it's removing people from that high pressure corporate professional environment, and you're just all like in this new place. Yeah, just kind of like, okay, like, do we just act normal? Like, is it okay to get a bit loose and be myself? And I feel like, yeah, that's really important because we spend 8 hours a day plus with these people. If you just put this wall up all the time where you're just like, oh, I'm Gina, I'm the account director, I'm professional, I, acquire clients and we make loads of money kind of thing. I think we just always want more. Like, personally as well, like I befriend my colleagues and a team I managed, I befriended them as well. And I loved going out for dinner with them. Or we had an offsite in Stockholm once, and we had a Christmas party there, and we like did this crazy Swedish shots, their Christmas shots, and we had herring, like the fish, like all different alternations of this fish. And I was like, I've never had fish for Christmas dinner. Like, what's this? But it was like embracing a new culture and learning Swedish words and songs and dancing around, and it was I still remember it today, and I remember how like funny it was and interesting and weird, and it's so memorable, and I'll never forget it. And I feel like more of that, please. Like, if companies really prioritize this, whether they are completely remote or they are like 5 days a week back in the office, the least you can do to like bring people together and like get more collaboration and like get more shit done, essentially, right? Get more people on board with your ideas and stuff and retain them as well. Just do
100%.
offsites. Yeah, just do retreats. It's not like I think also another misconception as a person who's tried to arrange events and like tried to contact like travel companies and stuff. Oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. It's a headache. As like a professional person trying to like find a venue, like for 100 people, 10 people, whatever, negotiating on the price and, oh, is there gonna be catering? Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Like, there's so much to think about. Like the idea of like, oh yeah, let's just go to Spain, for example, for a retreat. Who are you gonna contact? Like, who is your travel agent? And are we sure it's the best one? Can we trust them? And where are we even going to go in Spain? And what are we going to do when we get there? Like, is there a coach pickup? Do we have any activities? Are we just going to Spain to get drunk or swim in the ocean or what? Like, there's so much planning. It's unbelievable.
Hmm.
Like, just speaking with you as well, just casually, the amount of work and planning that you do behind the scenes is unbelievable. It's crazy.
And what if you planned everything and it's not what it should be, or it's not there, or the people not show up?
Wow.
Then that's a whole different thing to take in perspective. Like, it's been quite interesting because obviously I tried to get in touch with different people who were organizing these offsites from a company perspective. And yeah, like one lady said, yes, please help me. Because even one time they organized something for the team and they showed up and it just didn't exist. Or yesterday, I was talking with someone on a call, who was organizing weddings as well, and the person who was supposed to speak was not there. So obviously you cannot cancel the wedding. So she took over the microphone herself. But what are you gonna do if that's a coach that is coming, or what if you arrive there with a group of 100 people and things are not how they should be? So there's many things to keep in mind. And obviously, yeah, love exploring this with the people, with the companies, to fully understand what they are looking for. um, Companies also come, obviously, like depending where they're coming from,
Yeah.
it can also decide to which location they're going to be. So you're dealing with flight tickets. Maybe some will come from the same place, some will come from all over the world. Obviously, you're dealing with different seasons. And also, um, I guess within the travel industry, it's almost like an ancient network, right? Because it's always been operating on a global scale. So it also, yeah, it can matter a lot who you know within the industry. Also, there can be different arrangements as well. Or, for example, um, places maybe where there's like mafia active, maybe it's not the smartest place to just arrange it like that and make sure it's all in alignment with a trusted local partner, because obviously you're paying a fair bit of money for these things, right? So then you better get the value for it as well. So
Yeah.
there, even for me, it has been a learning that there's so many things that could go wrong and so many things that you have to think about. So it's really, really important to work with the right people.
Everyone has to be entertained. I feel like that's nobody thinks about that as well. It's like 100 different people. How do you entertain them? Some might be vegan, some might have allergies. And where do you put these people? Like, it is mind blowing. Like, do you put them together? Are they
Yeah,
in
like,
a house? Like, what? That's crazy.
yeah, so obviously you're looking at larger locations, especially if people, well, I guess if it's like a corporate company, you're not necessarily going to spend your time in like a bunk bed together with your colleagues, so to say. So you're looking at private rooms mostly, um, and other facilities like meeting rooms, beamer
Meeting rooms
screens.
abroad still?
Yeah, so it really depends on the narrative of the company. So right now I'm working on an offsite where they do prefer to have uh, a meeting room all together,
All together.
but also different breakout rooms for different teams to collaborate. And then obviously they will connect it uh, with activities as well, having time outside and really connect with each other. Um, Obviously they love it, but also yeah, it takes a lot of planning. So it's not just about checking out one place, looking at different places. Okay, why would this be a great place? What's the weather going to be like? What can you expect in terms of culture? Is everything in line with as it should be? Obviously, like, understand that is really what they're looking for, and negotiating, making sure that is actually made available as well. Um, so yeah, it's not your standard trip that you can just book online with one press of the button, so to say.
I love it. I think this whole conversation, like your curiosity, your willingness to be adventurous and just explore and be open and also meet new people, keep in touch with them, network with them, and then translate your whole kind of life experiences into a tangible business that's relatable today, that we need more than ever with the world of AI, a world of disconnection, a world of remote work and versus 5 days a week on site, and disengagement, burnout, all time highest rates. I think you're doing an amazing thing for not only your own self-development and your own experiences, but for us, for people who, yeah, long for connection, long for experiences, long for just making this life easier. Essentially making work easier, making work. I feel like you're really onto something and it's really, really special. What can our listeners take away overall from this episode?
um, that nothing is set in stone, I guess. Even as you summing this up and explaining the different ways how you can apply it and what it could solve or what great outcomes it could have. But do know that if there's something you want to change, you can change it. And very often, yeah, you get surprised what else is possible. And actually, by not taking that step, you could actually be taking something bigger from yourself. Um, yeah, because often, right, people say like, "Oh, I wish I would have done it earlier," and I think that's something important to carry around if you're on the edge. Should I break out of my comfort zone? Yes or no?
I agree. It's an amazing lesson. And we're going to play a game.
Ooh,
No, it's basically we're going to let the cards, if I can get them out, decide the fate for the last question of the
Spark.
episode. Yeah, Spark. So
I like
this
it.
is from Seek Discomfort, and they are conversation cards.
Mm.
So you pick your fate. So feel free to pick a question, and then you can read it and answer it.
What personal or creative project do you want to dive into? Love it.
Is it secret? Is it something under wraps?
I think it's like the things that I'm kind of like working on slowly. But I'm not sure how much I can say about all of them. But there are different conversations going on about different partnerships with communities. And also I'm working on a very exciting event for this summer, which is very close to my heart. But yeah, I can't share it yet.
Oh no, Gina, you've literally shared your entire life. Your entire entrepreneurship journey, when you were a cowgirl, when you traveled everywhere, and you can't share this? That's fine. We will figure it out. And if you've stuck this long, you saw my wink. We're cooking something. We're cooking something. It's gonna be really exciting. If you want a realistic happiness retreat, like I want it too. If you're still here and you want that, and it's like 10 people, let's say 10, 12, that's a nice little
That's a nice
intimate group.
number. Very personal.
Tuscany, I mentioned that before. Low key, Tuscany,
Ooh.
back to my roots. I'm not Tuscan, I'm Italian. A nice little mansion, vineyard, don't have to drink. Italian food, some cooking together. That's a nice team building.
Cooking classes.
Cooking
The
class.
food. You got me at the food.
Exactly. And you can come. You can be our host.
I would love that.
It's been amazing. Where can people find you if they want to contact you for Driftawave retreats or workcations?
Ooh. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me through the website, I guess. www.driftawave.com. I always wanted to do that. Or via email, info@driftawave.com. Many ways of reaching, but I guess those would be the most common ones. Or obviously per phone, WhatsApp. Very easy, very straightforward.
Don't say your number. You don't know who's on YouTube. Zero.
No, I hope ChatGPT knows it by now.
But Gina, thank you so much. A long awaited episode. I cannot wait to see what you come up with, the retreats you do. I'm going to stalk you on social media in a healthy way. And I can't wait to do something together as well. So thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much.
A big thank you to Avery for sponsoring this episode.